Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, welcome to Random Conflux. Where today, we're going to do something different. Now, starting this, I still have not told JJ what this topic was going to be about, did I?
No.
I came up with an idea while we were talking and just assumed I would tell him within recording.
Okay.
So here we are. I have no idea what the topic's going to be. I have a idea of the topic in my head, and this is what we're doing this. And once I say it, it's going to make more sense, but kind of wanted to get your initial reaction on like me saying what it is. So, without further ado, I'm Zach.
I'm John.
And this is Random Conflux. And this is a topic video of how do you treat tech support that's not actually tech support. And for you, you need to speak up.
Yeah, I need to get closer to the mic too. There we go.
May not be good enough.
I have to raise it up.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, we can amplify it.
So, with me saying the topic, what do you think about this?
It's interesting because we were talking about tech support or like me giving advice on how to fix things like that.
Yes, and you're actually not tech support.
No.
And that chair is a little too big for a spot. Just scooch it over just a
Yeah.
Let me move the microphone. Let me make sure everything is all good. So, we've talked off recording about, not saying any names, but, somebody asking how to get something to work, and you giving them the way to do it.
The best advice I can. I'm not saying I'm an expert or anything.
But you're also not tech support.
Yeah.
But you are good with computers. Now, our other friend Rat,
Really good.
he would be able to give like a little bit better advice and probably walk you through step by step, you know, how something is done. Because he's more knowledgeable about that kind of stuff. And I think you worked for tech support for a while.
Yeah. My experience with working with trying to get games to work when you're modding is you play with it until it either works or you break it more.
Yeah, but
I've
this
succeeded
isn't
with
even modding. This is
I was
just
just trying to get it to run.
Yeah. But you can only help someone so far, especially not being paid for it, and only if the person's willing to take in your advice and actually do what you tell them to do. This is kind of awkward chair. I got a bunch of cords around my chair.
Now with you, if you can't get something to work on the computer, John, fix this.
Yes. But they can't just say, hey, do this for me in the, through the phone. That's literally just impossible. He would have to take over your computer remotely, and it's a whole thing. It's 100% not possible for someone that's not that far into tech support to be able to do. Because one, you have to be trusted. Two, you have to go through all this process. And three, you have to have a license in order to do so. You should never, ever, ever, ever give your CPU ID number to anybody. No, anybody. Like, unless they are a validated computer repair expert and you can physically hand them the computer and be like, hey, please try to fix this. Do not ever send your computer or your computer information to someone else. Because that is one way of getting hacked to shit and back. But when someone that's not tech support is trying to help you the best that they can, take the advice. And I'm not doing this more as a call out to the person, but it's also to kind of help other people that may be in the same boat.
And if it doesn't work, you try something different. That's all it is.
Yeah, and a lot of things now are more geared towards like Windows 10, Windows 11, and there's not many updates still going for like older processing computers. A lot of the updates for those computers have died out. Yes, you can get updates, by physically getting them.
That was not.
Yes, it was. But you can usually go like to HP or wherever and get like a physical copy of like an update to the drivers and do a lot of the keeping your computer up to date that way, even if you don't want to change the update the Windows factor. But honestly, older systems are more prone to hacking than newer systems, actually. And I'm pretty sure, even if we got Rad in this conversation, he would probably agree.
Yeah, because if you were to boot up like a Windows 98, not Windows 98, yeah, 98 technically, but I would say even Windows XP or Windows 7 right now, hook it up to the internet, there's a good chance you are going to get hacked.
I would say even more so with DOS. I mean, it's probably going to be a little harder than DOS, but for the most part, it's very similar.
Now that's if you want to run an old PC for Windows games, things like that, nothing wrong with that. Just don't connect it to the internet.
Because that would probably be a little bit better than a virtual machine.
Yeah, which is what I do to get old games running. I'll run virtual machines and get there. But you've seen me mess with those.
Yeah, and I've also noticed they can be a pain in the ass too. And if you're not computer savvy, then
they can be a pain.
Yeah. I mean, you don't really need to be computer savvy to play games. But unless you really know the computer well enough and know how the computer functions, and you're not very computer savvy or tech savvy at it, if it is, then like a virtual machine may not be the best course of action.
You have to know what you're doing, because you're pretty much installing everything.
Yeah, and I've used virtual machines in the past. I don't like them myself.
You used it to play Lego Island, because I gave it to you, that one.
Yes.
I used it to play The Sims 1, because it was easier to do dual screen with that than it was off the main thing.
Well, with me, it was, I didn't like having to go into the files.
And load it up.
Yeah. I would have liked it like down on the toolbar, where I could just click it and like transfer to different scenarios. Which, last time I used a virtual machine, it was on Windows 10, and now I'm using Windows 11. I noticed like virtual machines tend to be able to move, because I was looking it up. Virtual machines now, you can put down the toolbar in this taskbar at the bottom of the screen. And that's where I have like Steam, Firefox, Vortex, OBS, Audacity, Phone Link, F4SE Loader, and LibreOffice. That's what I usually have in my task, other than like file management centric, and the others were just like Microsoft Edge and Microsoft Store. They were already on the task when I bought the computer. But the main things that I always put on the taskbar of any computer I own is the things that I know I'm going to be using the most with that computer. So I don't have to just, like, I can go from being in the Audacity window and instantly go into OBS while still recording in Audacity. Or I could go into OBS, have the OBS layout on one screen, like from my main computer monitor, and then throw a game over on the second screen or on a TV, so it's like a larger screen. We both don't have to be so close to the monitor, and we both can see the screen very easily. And it's always easier to record gameplay on dual monitors, in my opinion.
It's easier on dual. I've done it on single, but it's easier.
I find it more convenient.
Yeah, there's been times where I didn't have access to a second monitor, and I've done B-roll on one. It's easier to do.
Because you don't have to, like, go out of the game, go to your desktop, check OBS. And matter of fact, you've even had to redo recordings because you forgot to turn on OBS and you couldn't check OBS while playing the game to see if OBS was still running. And that's one reason why I love using dual monitors for recording purposes. If we're just doing like these topic videos, I can do this one monitor. But when we're doing gameplay footage, I actually rather use like dual screen.
It's easier.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I ran The Sims in a bridge, because it's hard. It was hard to do the first game with dual monitor.
Yeah.
Not impossible, just hard. Now the new release, they fixed a lot of that. I don't have money to buy that.
Now,
my car would compute.
Now, editing, do you think one screen or two screens are better?
I can just use one screen. I mean, you can do it with two.
Well, you can do it with multiple. I've seen these ridiculous editing setups where, and you guys can't see my hand gestures, so I don't even know why I'm doing it, but it's more inconvenience to JJ being here with me that I can kind of show him what I'm talking about to like a layup, and maybe I can put something in the B-roll in this particular spot, or JJ can edit this to make it a little bit more fancier. But there's some editing setups that I've seen where they have the main monitor in the middle. They'll have like a sideways monitor, like a vertical monitor, almost like a tablet thing on one side of the screen, and they'll have like another monitor on the other side of the screen, and they'll have a monitor on top, like on the wall, and then they'll have another monitor on the side, like on the left side on the wall, or like on the right side on the wall, and like they have like monitors on monitors on monitors on monitors, and like to me that's kind of overkill, but you also have like a bigger selection.
It's something you would do if you had money.
If I had the money to waste on monitors and mounting brackets, I would probably do it. Yeah. But that would probably be in like as the main setup. Yeah. I may invest in that somewhere down the line when I finally get the office set up and actually get a heater in there.
You need a heat in that house for a while.
But other than that, like, we are recording. Where are you going? It doesn't matter.
Good point.
We are recording. You don't cut it up from a recording. Why?
I had to stand up for a second and stretch.
Oh. I'll give you stiff.
That's right. You can get insane. There's no wrong way to set up.
Well, true.
And when it comes to getting old games to work, there's all kinds of things you can jump through. It's a whole thing.
But I see if you're gonna ask for advice, at least take the advice, try it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, then just keep trying different things until you finally, get the situation working, or you end up breaking the computer. Or, call tech support. I mean, that's a good thing.
There's people that are a lot better at this. I know enough to get me in trouble. I don't know what's picking you up better than me.
Because of the distance. It wasn't even picking you up.
Well, I know it wasn't.
So I'm like, why are you getting up? We're recording. But I kind of wanted to make this as like a helpful video and not as like just a call out to just someone that randomly messaged or commented on the video, because one, I think that's wrong to do. Not the commenting thing. We love the comments.
You think it's wrong to just lash out?
Yeah, but I also wanted to help other people that might have been in the same predicament as the person that commented, that was having problems, and just kind of go with, what we can do to try to help, and just state a fact, like, neither one of us are tech support. Like, when it comes down to getting something to work, I usually just have JJ do it. But on the other hand, if JJ can't do it, then it's like, okay, well, let's try another thing. If it really comes down to neither one of us getting something to work, or it gets to the point where I don't have a lot of money to keep, fixing the computers and paying for new computers. I'm not making money. Matter of fact, I'm on low income as it is. So, just me being able to have an affordable, really good gaming PC that doesn't really lag at all. I mean, there's some tearing here and there, but for the most, I think the quality of the videos have gone up with this computer rather than getting a laptop. Because this is actually a desk computer. It has a tower that has a bigger fan. Too bad I keep forgetting my screen's not touchscreen. I keep poking it, wanting it to do things that I want it to do. Now the computer at my house does, but this one not so much. And JJ, he has another 12-hour job that pays good, not. I mean, for what it is, it's okay. It keeps you afloat, but it's not in the realm that it's gonna give you a six-figure on a monthly scale. Now, that type of income, oh yeah, getting new computers on the daily, that's easy peasy. You could fork over like pocket change to get a good run gaming PC.
Save up for a new PC, but right now I need a car. But my car engine went kablooey. I'm currently using Zach's truck for transport to work.
Well, depending on when this goes out, I mean, you'll probably still have a truck by then. But, what was I going with this?
We don't have the money to buy a computer willy-nilly.
That was one point. What was the point B? Well, anyways, when it comes down to getting things to work, it's what are you willing to try? Like, how far are you willing to try? And do you have enough trust in yourself to, like, not fuck shit? And honestly, if you don't have enough faith in yourself to, yeah, you should go to someone that knows a little bit more about computers than you do,
Yeah.
and really conveying to them like what you're wanting to do. Like, I'm going to use this as an inspiration or as an example, but you were able to get roller coaster tycoon to look through open RC, right?
It actually worked well for RCT makes it a lot better. Makes it a lot more playable. Because it makes it so that you don't have to worry about resolution changes, it has it basically makes the game
Yeah. But you also explained what you did to get it to. And at that point, when you exhaust all options and the person still isn't comfortable enough to want to change to a different style, and honestly you would think that it would work better on an older PC than a more modern setup. It it's just it's also something that goes back with having the physical hardware, like software or whatever. Well, obviously you can tell I'm not tech support. I'm not even using the right terminologies. But
talking about having like the physical disc, right?
yeah. If the person has like the physical disc rather than like having it digitally, because I don't even think Steam still supports older gen computers.
Yes and no. They're stopping support for Windows 7 in the next couple. I saw all of that.
But if you're relying on a physical copy, it may not even be your computer. It could actually be the copy of the game.
Yeah, because they can deteriorate over time, get scratched, all that happy fun stuff.
The data, and this is one thing I do know about rewritable discs
They can get corrupted easily.
or CDs in general. For those that don't know, CDs are mostly plastic with a coating of silver on the top. Is it the top or is it the bottom?
There's like an inside layer of that.
Well, anyways, and there's a difference between a regular CD and a rewritable CD. Most game CDs are, and this goes with a lot of non-rewritable CDs. They're usually actually protected longer than rewritable CDs because of where the data is transferred and how the CD is made. Most regular CDs, DVDs, whatever, you have plastic, then you have a silver layer. That's actually what all the data is put on. They found out that silver is a mineral that can hold data better than any other component. I believe it's silver. It's either silver or zinc. Similar color, either way. It's a shiny surface of the disc. But usually there's another coating after that.
It's typically aluminum with gold or silver finish, maybe like gold or silver inside it to help it.
Well,
so yeah, I was just curious. I was looking it up to fact check. That's all.
But to kind of protect that layer, they also put a clear finish of, I think, acrylic to seal it and to protect that layer where all that data is, which also makes the disc just, I think, a millimeter thicker, maybe even less than that. But rewritable, and you can tell the difference literally by holding a regular disc and a rewritable disc side by side. A regular disc is actually maybe a hair thickness thicker than a rewritable CD, which has the data layer exposed, because that way you can imprint your own data to the disk. And the reason why I understand this, and I'm not tech support, is that my background is in music editing. Well, sound editing, music editing. I did a lot of making my own music, putting my own music on CDs, and like using rewritable discs to make regular music. Especially if I wanted like a friend or like someone to really check out what I could do music wise or editing wise, I would put a sample on a disc and I would just give it to the person. I mean, it's easier than, recording on a cassette tape. I mean, you don't have to have all those components. You can just plop it right in the computer and there you go. But that's one reason why I understand how CDs work. So if you understand how CDs work, then you obviously understand how other disc content works, like DVDs, games, whatnot. And that that final layer of acrylic or plastic, it helps protect the CD from dust stain on the data, or you wiping the data off the actual disc by using a clean solution to clean the disc. It literally takes longer for a regular CD to deteriorate data
I was just looking
than it is for a rewritable CD to deteriorate data.
Yeah, but I was actually looking it up. The average lifespan for a disc, depending on how often it's used, is anywhere from 20 to 100 years.
And if you're using something that's older than that, like first gen discs, I believe those are even less likely to last. I mean, you could be the most careful person in the world and try to protect the disc as much as possible.
Oh, they can get scratched by the reader, or who knows what.
Yeah. All you have to do is accidentally bump the tower or whatever. And I hate the sideways readers that go up and down, where the slit's up and down. The horizontal readers. Is that the one? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the horizontal readers.
Or vertical. Vertical's up and down. Horizontal straight.
Vertical.
Yeah.
Because those are actually more likely to
Scratch it.
yeah, because they're not held in perfectly, and there's a gap that allows for free movement of that disc. So if you would actually, and here's an example, the computer setup I have at the house, the monitor has the CPU in it. It's an all-in-one monitor, and it also has the disc tray. It has a vertical disc tray. And anybody that knows me knows that I don't like my discs being vertical. I believe it's unstable. I believe that it could fuck up the disc, or have a easier chance to fuck up the disc, rather than having it horizontally placed. And you guys can't see this, but my Xbox X is on it. Well, technically it's vertical. It's on its side.
It's horizontal. It's like horizontal, so you put the disc in horizontal.
Yeah. So I actually prefer my Xbox that way rather than having it the normal way. Even though the normal way would conserve space, I don't. And it's not just that I don't trust the system. I don't trust the system.
No, I get you.
You have all these wires. You got tug and pull. If you have kids running around, they're tripping on the cords. Most old people don't pick up their feet. They like to slide their feet because their joints ache. They trip over the cords. To me, a vertical reader is more likely to fuck up a disc than a horizontal. And I can already hear some random Karen wanting to comment in the comments down below. Well, you know where they're at, obviously.
Disagree. You're allowed to disagree.
Wanting to write a nasty little comment, and sorry, Jay, for saying Karen. I should say a heckler, because your stepmom's name's Karen. But that's neither here or there. But I can almost hear those type of comments going, well, Zach, if you're taking into consideration the bumps and how the disc is sitting in the tray, wouldn't you feel more appropriated that the disc is actually lifted off the tray rather than, or not being vacuumed into the device at all? And this is where I have to explain. Disc readers, no matter how they're built, slotted or trayed, they have a little nubby thing that comes up and into the ring of the disc, the little hole of the disc. So you sit, well, if it's a tray, you're going to sit the disc down if the nubby isn't already there. Because PlayStation 1, GameCube, Dreamcast, those were devices that had the nubby there. You had to physically place the disc onto the nubby, and it gave the disc, I think, maybe a few micro centimeters of space between the actual plastic and components of the device than the layer of data on the disc. Disc trays that don't have a C nub or spinner knob, those are retractable knobs. When they're not being used, the knob will retract into the device itself. And that is a more newer form of the knob. Those coincide with the PS3, the Xbox One, PS4, Wii U. More modern accommodations will actually use the retractable nub. But the retractable nub was actually, I believe, first used in a, I want to say, more advanced disc trays to allow the tray to pop in and out without having any sort of blockage. And those will actually lift up the disc as the nub is trying to apply itself into the hole. But the disc is usually held on the top by the top of the sleeve, or casing, if you will. And by just adding a little bit of pressure, the nub can wedge itself into the hole. And then when it kind of lays back down, it'll lock in place where you have like a little bit of space between the disc and what the disc is supposed to be laying on. Those actually work the same way with slotted game disc readers, or slotted disc readers. Doesn't have to be game, it could be computer, it could be a CD player, it could be a DVD player. It all works remotely the same. So you are more likely to have a longer lifespan for a disc if the disk drive is in a horizontal position rather than a vertical position, because of how the components work. So if the device has the disk drive vertical, you're actually doing more damage to the disk because you're pushing it off the track, and it doesn't have center of gravity to kind of hold it where the nub would be easily passed into the hole of the disk, because gravity works with a downward force. This is where science comes in, ladies and gentlemen. And this is why I don't trust vertical over horizontal disc readers. Even if it's meant to be vertical, I always play it horizontal. But that's just me. I go off of basic science. I say, oh, God, help me. Make sure that this doesn't, fuck up while suspended in midair while the nub is trying to latch itself into the hole of the disc. And I'm sorry for bringing that up because of how you are, but I want to make a point that, like,
it's better horizontal than vertical. I agree.
Science proves that it's this, and I don't really give two shits about what your religion says, because when it comes down to
let's not get into that. We're talking about.
Hold on, I would have already had my point made if you didn't interrupt me. Dang religious brother. But religion isn't going to save your disc. Science is. Science is going to save your technology. Now, if you want to use religion for every other excuse, go right ahead. But that's neither here or there. This is more of a technological conversation than it is a metaphorical conversation or a religious conversation.
But back to the PS2. There was actually a case. My copy of Tenkaichi 2. I was.
Oh, they had a lot of complaints with because they were told that you could turn it vertical.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't hurt the disc. And a lot of people were complaining that their discs were getting scratched.
But at the time, my PS2, I needed to adjust the laser, and I didn't feel like it, but it was reading discs better vertically than horizontally. You know what I'm talking about? So that's
because the laser itself was off balance.
Yeah. So instead of fixing...
Oh, no. Not the laser. The nubby wasn't spinning balanced.
Yeah. But at the time, I was lazy enough fixing it, so I had to set it vertically just for temporary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing Tenkaichi 2, and something happened. My PS2 fell.
Oh!
Yeah, the PS2 was fine. The disc wasn't readable anymore. I had to buy a new copy.
That's why I don't trust any disc reader in a vertical position, because and here's the case, folks. It doesn't matter how or what it is, for something to be made with a component, and this is towers, game systems, whatever. They're literally built larger horizontally than they are vertically. When you think of protection of the disc tray and the disc itself, it's actually better to have it where the disc lays in the device horizontally rather than vertically. If the device is, let's say, a tower for a PC, most disc readers in the tower are actually horizontal rather than vertical like the tower is. That way that the disc actually sets in comfortably. But if that tower had the disc drive vertical, I would actually lay the tower flat. One, that protects the disc. Two, that kind of goes into I believe it's geometry? Physics. Because the center of gravity is always going to be greater over an entire area rather than a like a wider area rather than a narrow area. So the taller that something is, it should also have the same width. Like a rectangle on being vertical is actually easier to tip over than a rectangle being longer horizontally. And that's because of physics. Well, game systems, towers, whatever, they're made a similar way. I'm going to use the Xbox X as an example because it is a legitimate rectangle. It is literally, you can measure it in half and get 2 squares. So it's actually safer to lay them horizontally than they are vertically. Now you take something that's a complete cube, it doesn't matter which way you lay that because the center of gravity is the center point. Doesn't matter what side you put, the gravity is always going to be the same because it's the same on all sides.
Now with the GameCube, you had to make sure the disc was facing up a bit.
Well, obviously you know the top from the bottom of the GameCube. But I'm just saying, a point of the matter being, you're not going to knock over a GameCube because it's a fucking square. Rather than a rectangle.
Yeah. I still say that was Nintendo's best system. You agree?
Yes! Well, actually, their best disc system. When I had a Wii, I never put it in the rack. I never had it vertical. When I had a Wii U, same thing. Never had it in the rack, never had it vertical. Because I didn't trust the reader.
Wii was a good system, but I still argue GameCube was better. I actually used my Wii more for GameCube games than for Wii games.
But my brain works on the path of logic.
Yeah.
Where I go, okay, the center of gravity to ensure the safety of this object to prolong the lifespan outweighs the convenience of the object or the placement of the object. If you had other things around it to keep it sturdy and to keep it from falling over, then yeah, I would say go ahead, make your paper boo-boo.
You're still taking a risk.
But you're also taking a risk because of the device overheating because it's crowded. There's no airflow. But that was the only way to keep something vertical safe. Especially when it's plugged into a bunch of different fucking wires. And every fucking game system has a bunch of fucking wires.
I think you met your quota on this topic.
It's literally, you have a plug for the power. Yeah. You have a plug for the video. You have the plug for the audio. Sometimes the audio and the video are the same. Some cables that do dual are very heavy. A Wii U is not very heavy in itself to counterbalance in an upright position. Matter of fact, they like to tip over even in a flat position.
The Wii too.
No, the Wii U was a little bulkier. The Wii itself was thinner compared to the Wii U, which had a little bit more bulk to it. But even with that added bulk, I never trusted the verticality of the console because of how narrow the center of gravity was to keep it upright. And here's another thing. An Xbox X is actually very thick. It is a legitimate rectangle.
Giant brick.
It's 2 equal squares.
It's about the size of
put
a cinder
together.
block.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I could probably trust it being on it, being vertical, but I also don't trust the disc reader.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it the way it is. But it would probably have less of a chance to tip over than a Wii would because of how narrow and how slim the Wii is. Even the slim PS2.
Oh, you don't want to put a slim PS2 vertical.
That was a bad design.
You keep talking, I'll be right back.
Oh, let me have a conversation to myself. I see how it is. But I'm kind of getting a little away from the actual topic, but because this went from a comment in tech support to how disk readers work, and then science and philosophy. Philosophy? Well, religion. And I never like to put that into the videos, but it made its way into this one because I ran a lot. And without a second person, I'm always off topic. Where was I going with this? Anyways, that was just kind of explaining my knowledge as it comes to technology, not how to program things.
Yeah, sorry about that.
And the only reason that even has a remote installation into this topic, and it took up too much of the topic.
Pretty much took the whole topic.
And it actually has to do with my background in audio editing and transferring data from point A to point B to eventually reach point C. And you have to kind of know what you're doing, or you're going to give someone else a corrupted disk. And when it comes down to editing, you have to kind of know how...
You have to know what you're doing going on.
How the programming works to that extent. Where a lot of software makes it very, very easy for you to understand the complexities of how it works. It basically spells it out for you. But when I was learning how to do audio editing, it was on a bigger scale and more professional equipment rather than having like my own home setup, because the school forked over like a bunch of money of their funds to get these types of setups. So when you do go into a career where you're having to use this technology, you know how it works. And computer design wasn't part of my class. It had nothing to do with what the class needed to teach me, or what the person themselves was trying to teach. So when I finally did get my own home computer, and I realized that the layout was nothing like the auto editing equipment I used, I wasn't even sure if auto editing would even be possible on a home setup until I started getting into certain things like finding WavePad as something that you can download on your own personal PC. And that was a software I used during high school while taking a audio editing course because what my high school provided was computer basics, which helped you learn how to type fast without having to look at the keyboard. It allowed you to memorize the keyboard in your head, so you never had to look at it. You could either look at whatever you're transcribing from paper to text so you never have to slow down. You can always keep the same speed and be more proficient. And then there were different versions of music class that kind of, if you wanted to learn different instruments, you took band. If you wanted actual like how music discs are made, how to record music, they had a class in that. But anyways, where was I? I kind of got a little really interrupted.
You were talking about how like they had like different programs for like learning instruments and things like that.
Yeah. They had different classes to kind of teach different forms of the structure. I already knew how to play most instruments. Like, I knew how to play drums, I knew how to play guitar, I knew how to play keyboard. I kind of knew how to play bass. I mean, it's sort of like playing guitar, but it's more rhythm based. And you're more strumming it with your fingers than you are with a pick. Never cared about learning violin. I didn't want anything like that really close to my ear anyways. I wanted to learn the production side of making music because eventually I wanted to start a studio or work at a studio to edit and make music myself and not have to hire a middleman in order to do it. Matter of fact, my first ever girlfriend, which I broke up with and then went back together with, her dad owned a private music studio that they built in his basement. Well, I actually helped build the second one because the first one was just he paid a contractor to build the shell and he paid for the equipment to be put into the shell. But when he moved into his new house, it was a lot more open and he wanted a different design of like a layout because the basement in his old house had 2 rooms side by side, and what he did was he carpeted the entirety of one room for acoustics, floor to ceiling, nothing but shag carpet. I remember going into that room and my hair stood on end. I'm prone to attracting static electricity as it is. I could be sitting down in a normal chair and attract static electricity. That's how prone I am to it. I regret ever sitting in a plastic chair. Ugh. Me just sitting still in a plastic chair, I will never ever touch a doorknob. I've done that once, and I'm never making that mistake again. But what he did with the other room was all the equipment, like the recording equipment, the monitors, the basic dash, and the mixer, and like all that other equipment. That all was in the other room. That's the room that he would be in to kind of do a lot of the up pitch, down pitch, mono stereo type of live adjustment to the sound quality of the people recording. Which a lot of stuff I know how to do. I can, instead of forcing my voice to sound like this, I could just sound like this and then edit the voice so it sounds more like this. But I'm not actually doing any editing for that. I'm just making a point of what editing can do. It can make your voice go from somewhere around here to going somewhere around here. Very nonchalantly, if you will. But also like keep a consistency to it. So sometimes you don't have that ability to like go from high pitch to low pitch on your own because you don't have that control over your vocal cords. That you actually get more from singing than you do talking. Because when you're singing, you're trying to hit different notes. So that kind of helps your voice range. This got way off topic. But when my girlfriend's stepdad moved into his new house and built his new studio, I actually helped him build the studio because I had as much knowledge as he did when it came down to what needed to be in it. How big does the recording area have to be? It's actually better the bigger the area because you can have more stuff in the area. But if you're doing each instrument one by one, you can just bring the instruments in yourself and then just do that portion of the song and then just mix it together. But what does this all have to do with someone asking for tech advice? The long and short of it is that it. The long and short of it is you can only give advice on the stuff that you actually know, like the back of your hand. Whenever JJ has a problem with audio editing, and honestly, his editing is awesome. That's why he's doing the editing. Not just on the topic videos that are just more audio rather than like just doing the visual portion of it. But I think he does very well also in making sure that the audio doesn't peak. That it's not too loud, but it's also not too soft too. Isolating when we're a little further from the mic to when we're really close up to the mic. A lot of the background sounds like the traffic, us moving around, him squirming in the chair, me like moving my chair back and forth, bumping the table. You don't really get a lot of the fact that we're actually at a legitimate folding picnic table trying to record this side by side with each other on one mic rather than, having our own separate mics, a dual audio program, and like a proper studio setup. I mean, you can kind of tell that because, one, I don't make it a secret that this isn't recorded in a studio, or that I plan on ever having this studio quality, but Jay does very well. And that's not just because he's here with me, that's the honest truth. If I didn't think he was good enough to do the audio editing, and that's not even what he majors in, that's kind of my job, that's what I know how to do. He does very well for being more or less self-taught in that area of expertise. But there's also a lot of trial and error when you come down to editing. And when I point out something that doesn't sound good to me and you've already uploaded it, sometimes I just have to bite my tongue and just say whatever, it fucking works. But if he's editing here and I get to hear it, there's times where I do say, hey, you can make that sound a little bit better. Or a lot of the time he's grown a knack for noticing, okay, this is kind of peaking here, I need to lower the contrast.
Well, there's times where I've completely re-rendered a video because I don't like this.
But in the beginning, it was more me being like, hey, this can be better. Because I had a little bit more experience than you did when it came down to how the audio should sound. But the more he gets into that type of editing, the more he's going to learn about it. And the fact that he's taking it upon himself to learn how to do both sides of the editing process rather than just taking up the visual editing and making me do the audio editing. Now, there are some times where when we're recording here together, yes, I will amplify and normalize the audio just to get it started for him. But when I just send him a raw copy of the Let's Plays, That's all him.
And I've gotten to where I can kind of speed through them and like see where the peaks are, and that's usually where like you cough or whatever.
Well,
I mean, they're
obviously, for people that don't know, peaks will show up on the wave stream in red because the software is meant to pick up on that rather than you having to train your ears to pick up on it. But there's times where you'll peak, especially like with the P sounds. That's why most mics need a pop filter. It helps with that peak in the P. But sometimes you need to train your ears to do that. Well, if you actually have training in that, that's more easier to pick up if it doesn't show on screen. And I'll let you talk here in a second because you're going to explain how you notice peaks when you're editing that doesn't show up in the wave format. With me, I had an actual teacher teach me how to listen for those peaks. So then I trained my ears to like listen for that pop. But that would be, in my opinion, that would be different if I didn't have a teacher teaching me how to recognize those pops rather than trying to learn the subtlety of it on my own. I mean, I can't really explain for your position, but with me, it's like I can recognize that boom type of vibration to the sound.
with me, it's that, and also when you zoom out and look at the timeline, you can see the peaks on the timeline visually too.
Well, I'm talking about when you can't see the
Yeah.
peaks.
Yeah.
How do you pull those out without being able to see them?
You have to listen.
I mean, what's your name?
I'll listen to the thing and like anything that
Like, how did you teach yourself to notice where the peaks are when you don't see them in the
just
timeline?
trial and error. If you listen for like awkward noises, random things like that. That's what I usually do.
Yeah. But this makes sense when it comes down to explaining like how to finagle something into it works and how far you're willing to go if you're not really educated on the subject or trust yourself enough to try. Now, if JJ didn't trust himself to try to learn audio editing, he would just probably have me stick with editing just that part, right? And then, because I'm not comfortable with visual editing, because that's not my cup of tea. I'm self-taught in that, and there's that saying, you're your own worst critic, but nothing would ever come out on this channel if I was the one doing all the editing, because I would never think that the visual would ever be good enough, because I'm not that confident in my visual editing prowess. Now, if I was just doing it for fun, like, mixing with filters and whatnot, I would do it, but I would never put it out for people to watch. It would be just something for myself. But even with JJ not having a background in audio editing, he's a little bit more self-confident than I am when it comes down to being able to do something and look at it and listen to it and be like, okay, I like this. But he's also more confident in trial and error and making mistakes.
If you don't make mistakes, you're not going to figure it out. Like, part of learning is making mistakes stuff.
And this is where we're very, very different. And it's not because of how I grew up by our biological mother being the one to raise me. Don't put there. But, and him being raised with his stepmom.
It's just your way of thinking compared to mine.
Well, mine's more because of how I was treated in school in an actual learning environment rather than like how I was treated in a personal environment, like a home environment. Now, our biological mom was the kind of person that said that there is no such thing as a mistake. There's only doing your best and getting better.
Yeah.
But that's not a philosophy that I got attached to, because when I first tried to use that philosophy and I was first starting out in art, and I eventually went into middle school, I had an art teacher that said that my art sucked. I thought my art was really good, but no matter how much more realistic my art looked compared to the others, or the contrast between my art and other people's, and I've even went as far as copying my art teacher's art and made it like one for one. And she still said that I wouldn't amount to anything because I'm just using photographic memory to trace.
I know that kind of shot down your interest in art for a long time because the teacher is shooting you down.
I gave up art. I literally, and I never told my mom this, but one of the reasons why my teacher eventually admitted that she hated me is because I literally told her to go to hell after that comment, and never tried to advance in her art class ever again. I would literally, while everybody was doing their stuff, I would just sit in my chair and not do jack shit. She would give us the stuff, I would just rip it up and throw it in the garbage.
You got ticked off at her telling you it sucked.
And it was just that one comment, but it was the same time I always handed in my work. And I never knew why she singled me out rather than everyone else in the class. Because honestly, there were people in the class that drawing was worse than mine. Like, there were, and this was before I fucked up my shoulder, but my lines were a lot more straighter. My strokes were always in the same direction. Even like going around the outline, instead of turning the direction of the bristles or the marker or whatever, I always did downward slash to the let's say making a D throughout that whole curve. I'm not just doing one single line, I'm doing multiple slashes, tiny little slashes going through, and it blends in a lot better than doing like a downward stroke and then doing like a curve stroke, because those two strokes really stand out when you're trying to make a solid object or a solid construct. At least I knew this, and it was something that she was teaching, but yeah, she also called it out as, oh, these aren't going in the same direction. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? She goes, you're doing an upward stroke instead of a downward stroke. Like, it's all fucking downward strokes. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know what? You shouldn't even be a fucking teacher. You should just go straight to fucking hell.
And you did say that. Weren't the best words at the time, but...
And then I got detention because I told my teacher to go to hell, and I had a potty mouth. If you're a member of this channel, or like you listen to this channel a lot, then you really know I'm a potty mouth.
I have to censor these comments quite a bit.
Nervous laughter. But yeah, it literally like pushed me away from art. It pushed me away from drawing, and drawing's not the only type of art. When I pushed away drawing, I gravitated more to music and like drowning myself in, like, when I was at school, I always wanted to because my music teacher, on the other hand, he was 100% in the opposite direction.
He always pushed you to do better first.
If there was something good or something that I was good at, he would make me try something else. He would be, and it would never be like a disrespectful comment or a downgrade. It was always, okay, well, you're already good at this. Let's see what you're not good at. I'm not going to downplay how good you are in one thing. I'm just going to put that on the back shelf, and I'm going to see what you need help in. And to me, that's what a teacher, that's what makes a good teacher. But anyways, I've only like had a handful of teachers that really inspired me to pursue other passions or to like better myself. And I had shitty ass teachers that I don't think should have even had their fucking job. But I don't know. Did you have a similar experience?
I've had good and bad teachers. Honestly, my best art teacher was probably the one in college. She was a really good.
Well, most college teachers are.
I meant like as far as like her pushing you and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But
she got me to like really expand like what I did. Like I did like that's where I learned like that I like doing chalk pastels.
Like with my music teacher, I told him that I started doing instruments at the age of 5. And I mostly got into it because my friends were kind of wanting to do it too, and I'm like, oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Let me try that with you, and then I got into it. I picked up a lot of stuff quicker than my friends did. Like drums, as long as you can keep a rhythm, you can pretty much do drums. Same with, I realized that it's the same with bass guitar, but you kind of have to have a little bit of experience with a regular guitar. But it doesn't mean that you have to start with a regular guitar. You could go straight to bass if you really want to just learn to play that. But I wanted to play like main instruments like guitar, piano, and drums. So those were the ones that I actually really already knew how to do.
Yeah.
Like my piano wasn't great, and like the drums weren't my main choice in like musical instruments, but I was actually better with drums than I was with the guitar. Mm-hmm. But I was also somewhat good with the guitar at the time because I could have actually played Iron Man just by listening to it. And then I made up my own song that was just off of the guitar, and I played it sort of like how you play Wipeout on drums, like trying to hit like every note possible in the quickest succession as possible, going from like very slow and tempo to very fast paced and chaotic, but still like that controlled chaos. And now I like not playing guitar for a long period of time. I'm not that good at it. But when I say like that was my peak when it came down to guitar, and my drums were still better, I should have just went into drums.
Yeah. And honestly, you're not bad. You did some music for the channel, and I put it in the background on multiple topics. You need to do some more. But...
Yeah, because I think I only did one song. But you can take that one song and mix and match it as much as you want to. You can cut and paste and put it, like, splice it up and make so many different songs out of just that one melody. And that's kind of how music works, though. But he also pushed me to try other instruments too. I really didn't know how to write lyrics, so he taught me how to write lyrics in musical format. He taught me how to write notes, like music notes. Because the way that I wrote music was I would play the instrument and see how I wanted it to sound and the rhythm that I wanted to keep. and I would just show my friends like, hey, I want it to sound like this, and I would just play the music for them on that instrument, and I would tell them, keep that sound going. And then when it came down to the keyboard, I wasn't really all that good at it, but I knew what I was doing to the most part. I would play a song on a keyboard and I would be like, okay, well, let me see how this sounds when I put in the rhythm with the drums. And then I would see how it sounds when I put it with the guitar. And then I would try to memorize through like photographic memory and muscle memory how each note was played. How long did I press the button on the keyboard? How long did I let the drum go for? How long did I let that beat, like that hit of the drum? How long did I let that reverberate? How long did I let the cymbal reverberate? Did I just hit it and quit? Did I switch the sound of the drum? Did I hit a different portion of the drum? Which part of the drum did I hit? A lot of that took into consideration on how I wanted my song to sound. And a lot of that was just ear, playing by ear. And then when I really wanted to get into it professionally, and I realized like this is where I want to take myself, especially in middle school when I just said, fuck it, I don't want to do art anymore. I don't care how my art looks. I don't have an interest in it anymore, so I'm never going to go to it other than treat my art teacher like a pig. I gravitated towards getting better at other things. And if someone said that I wasn't good at something, but they gave me a reason, if they didn't just come right out and say that I wasn't good and leave it as that, but they were like, oh, well, that kind of was okay, but it could have been better. And they explained in the situation where my mistakes were, I was more eager to learn. And at this point, listeners are probably being like, okay, how does this have to do with the beginning of the topic? How are you going to loop this whole thing around? Because you went from tech support to design and all this other shit. Well, it actually has a lot to do with the topic and actually makes sense for a longer topic to kind of go into all this detail. Main point in the factor is you can't really ask for help unless you're willing to accept the help and you're willing to try and try and try. But if you're not willing to try, then nobody can help you. But if nobody's giving you any criticism, then you can't really help yourself either. And if they're just saying, well, I don't know what else to tell you other than you suck, then that's a way of discouraging someone from actually trying. And I know for a fact because I also go through the comments and I see what you comment back. And when you were given advice, it was nothing like that. You did lose your patience at a point and said, well, I don't know what more I can tell you.
I didn't post
it's just you posted something similar. You said, well, this is what worked for me. I would suggest maybe going to, asking someone that might know a little bit more. But this is how I got it to work.
Yeah.
And that's not word for word. That's just me kind of summarizing.
Paraphrasing.
Yeah, paraphrasing. But if the person was really interested in learning a little bit more about getting older games to work, sort of like how JJ does, And I'm not that, like I said, I'm not all that confident. I'm not trying to single out the commenter either. I'm just trying to say I'm in a similar boat. I lack confidence. And when I ask JJ for advice to the point where neither one of us can really get something to work, I just say fuck it and I move past it. But that's not the right mindset to have. And for the commenter, I don't mean to like put you in the spotlight. That's why I'm not going to say who you are or anything like that. I just want to say that don't be like me and lose your patience or your confidence to try to get something to work. But when you're not experienced in the subject or topic, at least give it as much of a try as you're willing to do. But don't give up. Because even though one person may not be able to answer your problem or fix your problem, doesn't mean that there's not someone out there that can't. And matter of fact, which roller coaster tycoon is it on? For the comment.
They were asking about the PC, the original. Like,
which one of our videos has the comment?
I forget the scenario.
Well, while he's looking it up, the reason why I want to know is that we can go ahead and let listeners that may know a little bit more about how to get it working, they can comment on that comment as a reply and probably give the person a little bit better help than maybe you can.
It was
Factory Capers, which
it says episode 7, but I think my episode list is messed up. But regardless,
okay.
Like, if you have better information on what I could give,
but it was episode 7 for the video, right? Okay, it's Roller Coaster Tycoon, episode 7 in the playlist, and just look for that video. Find the commenter talking about how to get the game to work, and if you can give the person better information than what JJ did, because I'm not going to give any information. I don't know enough about the game to really comment, so I don't want to give the wrong information myself. But if you know a little bit more about it, please help the guy out or the person out. Don't know if it's a guy or a girl. But please, if you can give a helpful reply, please do so. If you're just gonna reply with a hateful comment, then go get fucked.
Yeah, don't say anything hateful. It's like, if you can honestly help them.
Yeah. Like, don't be like my art teacher and be a complete and fucking total ass. You know, if you know how to fix the problem, then comment. If you don't, then, you know, leave a different type of comment. But not as a reply to that. But if you shared a similar situation where you felt kind of out of your depth, and I think that's more what this topic is about, is like what you're comfortable with,
yeah,
where your depth of comfortableness is. And going back to the art thing, when you and me started talking about wanting to like make shows together, I honestly didn't want anything to do with drawing.
I got you more into drawing.
I didn't want to do anything animated. I didn't want to do anything where I had to make the characters. But I also didn't feel right with you having to make all the characters, which you did make all the base characters.
Well, you've improved a lot. You've gotten back, not quite back to where you were, but you've gotten a lot.
But you also helped push me in that direction.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what the person that commented may be having a problem with, is a lack of confidence in himself to kind of try different things here and there to see what works, what doesn't. because they even said, I believe they commented that they weren't really computer savvy.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not computer savvy myself, but I'll try a lot of stuff myself before I bug my brother because he works a lot. But when I lose my patience, it's usually because of lack of confidence, where I just give up and don't want to try anymore. And usually, he'll actually do something that I've already tried and still get it to fucking work. And I have no fucking clue on how he does it. But, and you've even said, like, to me yourself that, oh, you just did it. You had no words on, like, how to, like, fix the problem. You just said,
You play with it till it works. That's literally
it worked. And matter of fact, one of the things that was gonna make me completely not want to do video editing at all, or even remotely continue with this channel, was Shotcut. Because every time I tried to edit myself,
it would always crash on you.
It was a fucking crash fest. But it was getting me so frustrated to the point where I didn't want to continue to even make these videos because I didn't want to fucking edit. And then I didn't want to put too much on you, which you just took over anyways. Said, hey, I'll go ahead and I'll do the editing and take a lot off your plate. And honestly, I think you just put more on your plate.
I think so too.
And, but at first I agreed that I would still do the sound editing for all the videos, and then you would just make it look good.
And then eventually I just took over everything.
And then, eventually, shit comes to push, or push comes to shit, or whatever way you want to say it. Real life fuckfests happen, and you go into like a downward spiral, and you just want to give up on everything. And like that was the point in my life where I was at, physically and mentally, and like I was literally like not sleeping, not eating, just record, edit, come up with new ideas, come up with another topic, come up with this, come up with that. Always brain on the go. Never giving myself a chance to like sit down, take in the shit fest that happened, and let myself go through a grieving process because I didn't want to. So when JJ realized that I was in that situation, he took away what I was basically depriving myself of sleep with, and just was like, hey, you need to fucking sleep. And JJ doesn't cuss, but like
You do.
I do. But I think that was word for word. You plain out said, I need to fucking sleep.
I didn't swear, but yeah, I did make you stop working on stuff.
You said you're not allowed to work on another topic until you can sleep.
Yeah.
And, like, I would stay up days on end, and, like, to the point where I would just pass out. And then I would wake up again, just go back to either editing or working around the house. Just something to not let myself relax.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a bad thing to do.
Yeah, it was becoming an obsession.
And then that's when you kind of just said, fuck it, I'm taking over. Like, oh no, I lost my channel.
Yeah. I know, I was getting up.
And when it came down to that, and I actually had a complete and total meltdown after not being able to distract myself. Really? We're recording, you fucking asshole? But anyways, What was I saying? Oh yeah, after having a freaking meltdown that was well overdue. I think like 2-3 months overdue. Because I wasn't really eating very well. I wasn't sleeping. My sleeping was literally me passing out and forcefully waking myself back up. Because I ended up either knocking my noggin off of my desk when I fell over or whatever out of my chair. And yeah. And then I went into a grieving process, which was healthy. But that's neither here or there. I've already said that kind of shit in other videos. But in a way, I actually learned a little bit more about editing than what I did know with visual editing rather than just like sound editing. But I kept re-editing the same video over and 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 over. I could be working on one topic and I would spend a week straight not sleeping or eating or whatever and just keep editing one freaking video over and over and over because I couldn't feel the comfortableness to say, okay, this is good enough to be able to put out. And that feeling, it had nothing to do with the feeling had nothing to do with Shotcut, but the Shotcut kind of pissed me off even more. At the time, I was using Filmora when I was actually doing a lot of the editing myself until I updated my computer and I lost the package. And I had to look for a new free editing program, and Jay found Shotcut, and when I tried to use it, it would just crap out on me. So when it came down to me already feeling shitty, it made me feel even worse. Because one, I was already self-conscious. Like I already had my my confidence in trying something new or trying what I thought I could do and being very overcautious like about how it looks and being very critical. Like I was already that kind of person. But when the shitfest happened, it made that part of me worse. And that's what killed my that's what kind of killed my drive for like really wanting to edit, really wanting to be creative at all. And then like the lack of sleep and like a lot of that other shit that kind of played into the situation until one day me and JJ were talking in person and he's like, well, I really don't want you quitting Random Conflicts. We just started it. We're just getting our first bit of subscribers and views, and I know you're pumping out content, but you're pumping out content way too fast, way too quick. You're killing yourself doing it. You're not really giving yourself a break, and I know why, but it's not healthy for you. And I think you need to just let me take on the editing format, and you need to just back away for a bit. Like, maybe come up with ideas for another topic. Let's talk. Let's have you doing something else, but let's have it where, you know, you're not using this as a crutch. Let's stop this being a crutch and let's make it something where, you know, I'm not going to let you proceed any further doing this if this is the way you're going to go about it. And I think that was one of the things, you know, letting me grieve helped take a little more of that frustration and criticism off of my shoulders. Because when you're told that something that you're doing isn't good enough, and like a lot of people say that to you, it breaks down your self-confidence. And when you're already dealing with depression and something else happens, that kind of hits a little harder. And we talked in a depression video about how I lost motivation due to teachers to pursue certain projects, and I always had like that encouragement to do better from my mom. Like my mom was never, our mom was never the person to like be critical. She was always the one trying to push me to try new things even when I was afraid to. And that had a lot to do with counteracting the loss of self-confidence that I had from my teachers and like my schoolmates. And when that form of extra confidence and drive to push you further is the one thing that you lack in a physical form, you don't know how to compensate for it. And a lot of my lack of experience was coming back to bite me in the ass, and a lot of that lack of confidence came to bite me on the ass. And I think in a way the lack of confidence thing is the one thing that the commenter has similar. So I'm just wanting to see if this video can help that in a way. Like, don't lose focus in what you're trying to do. Like, if you're trying to get a game to work, or if you're trying to learn something new and you're not getting it right away, don't lose confidence in yourself. Like, keep trying. And when you exhaust all possibilities, then, you know, maybe it's time to ask for professional advice when you don't have anywhere else to look to.
I think that's a good place to end 2 hours and 9 minutes. I think that's a good ending point, is why I said it.
I mean, yeah, it's a good ending point. I mean, I think I put the person under the bus a little too much.
Yeah.
But
yeah, don't be ashamed to ask for help, and always try to push yourself.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to convey in this is, like, even though you may get frustrated because something's not working out for you, keep trying. I mean, don't just give up on a project all because you lack the confidence in yourself to fix it. Because you'll never get something to work that way. You'll never get better at something that way. Because you'll always have that mental block. And once you kind of see, like, okay, well, this didn't work, so maybe I should try talking to this person. Or maybe I should try to check other videos. Or maybe I should try to get out of this mindset that I'm in, that I can't mindset, and like that negativity mindset, and try to think in a more positive light about the situation and try to look at it in a different point of view or a different angle. And one thing that really helps with figuring stuff out is being able to take a step back and like go off, do something else, and then come back to it with a fresh mindset to it. Sorry, I didn't mute the microphone on that one. But yeah, if you go back and look at the person's the comment is public, isn't it? Okay. Because I know that they're held for review until we ourselves look at the comment. But because we want to make sure that there's nothing hateful being said. But if you have an idea that may help get Roller Coaster Tycoon to work, that hasn't already been mentioned in the reply, then go ahead and, reply to your heart's content and just, be nice, be helpful. If you don't have anything helpful to say, then don't reply at all. But if you want to comment for another topic, leave it in the comments down below. Usually I'm running out of topic ideas. Sometimes I've been redoing topic ideas, and I want to kind of keep it more random and fresh. And that was just something that happened to pop in my head, and maybe talking about this could end up helping the commenter a little bit more and get other people to help reply and maybe give the person some more advice that maybe you couldn't give. And it was something that we didn't talk about before starting, and I wanted to kind of just have a dry start to it, or a fresh start to it. So I rambled on long enough.
Yeah, I think we need to end this around.
We're at the ending point. This is where I say like, subscribe, comment.
Yeah, anyway, see you guys next time.
Say goodbye, Vegeta.
Get out of here, go!
That's it? Poor Vegeta. Later. Oh, I did hit the button.